Well, of course, former President Jacob Zuma, being a former president in the country, obviously what you do, what you say gets taken seriously. I suppose that at his convenient time, he'll be able to provide such evidence. But from where I stand now, I haven't seen such information. I don't have knowledge of such. So you cannot mistake in people to believe or not to believe in him. But at the moment, there's no evidence that I've come across or information except what we hear all over. So if it comes from him, you are right. People are likely to believe him, but I suppose he knows that in situations like this, you always have to provide evidence to that effect.
Well, you sit in the president's office at Luthuli House. Surely this doesn't sit well with the current president of the African National Congress. Any thoughts on why his predecessor might be doing this?
Well, I wouldn't know, but what I will say is that you would know that we went to a very highly contested national conference in 2017, and our diagnostic report demonstrated to the fact that there were so many divisions in the ANC and they impacted on how the ANC does its business. And the conference resolved that we need to embark on a program of unity and renewal. And we've been doing that. It's a stiff learning curve. It's a tight curve. It's not easy. And some of the problems that we have, or some of the discord that we have in the movement, reflects or corroborates what the diagnostic report has said. But that doesn't mean we're not working hard. So there may be discord and we're working on them. And I wouldn't know the specific reasons, but I would understand whatever discord that you may see from, in some instances, emanating from the challenges that we ourselves at the ANC have actually identified. And we are working on them in a number of ways.
Yeah, well, I just had a conversation with political analyst Prince Mashele, who says the former president, what he is trying to do with the statement he issued last night is provoke what he says is a constitutional crisis within the country. You tweeted overnight that the party, the ANC, should at all times avoid being at the forefront of constitutional delinquency. My question here is, my question is, isn't this the time then for President Ramaphosa to reassure the nation that we're not going to be plunged into a constitutional crisis?
Look, I think the president has on many occasions reassured South Africans that we cannot have a constitutional crisis. The architect of our democracy is anchored on the foundation of the Constitution. And it is upon us, all of us, South Africans, to abide by the constitutions and the laws of the country. This does not mean, for instance, if there are judgments by the Constitutional Court or any other courts, we are just going to be happy with that. At various times, political parties, individuals, and so on, they do become unhappy with the judgments. But because we know the processes of challenging these whatever things that we feel we are unhappy about, we need to work hard to ensure that we subscribe to those laws and so on. So I want to believe that the president has been quite clear on the fact that our democracy has been hard-earned. This constitution, the ANC has been at the forefront of creating, of developing it and adopting it. So therefore, we cannot be the ones who can be at the forefront of undermining it. That's all that we mean.
So why then would the ANC still be quiet many hours later after judges have been attacked by its former president? Shouldn't the party have said something? And it's quite serious that the former president attacks judges in this way.
No, we have not been quiet. that with regards to the challenge on the judges, we have not been quiet. The closing remarks of the president, which were publicized, were very clear about the support for a commission like the Zondo Commission. It's very clear. And even today, I think the ANC, if it has not issued, but a statement is out that corroborates what the closing remarks of the president. So we have not been quiet. I think we're not going to be quiet. The issue here is that, probably, as an organization, we have been focusing on a range of issues, like the president, among other things, focus on the issue of the constitution and our respect for the Zondo Commission. So I don't think it is a correct statement that we've been quiet. Even now we're speaking in respect of the constitution of the country.
Mr. Besani, if you allow me, please, can I take the headlines at the top of 11 o'clock? I think you and I have some unfinished business. There are other stories there are other angles to this that I would like to explore with you. If you allow me, do you have time to continue the conversation? Thank you, sir. Well, AM edition, and we are in conversation with the ANC head of the presidency, Sibongile Besani, and it's all got to do with former President Jacob Zuma, who has ruffled feathers in the ANC leadership following his decision not to appear before the Zondo Commission yesterday. Mr. Besani, let's continue this conversation. The other element of what is going on here is that what political analysts like Prince Mashele are saying is a political crisis that seems to be at the forefront of what the former president is also trying to do. And it talks to the issue that former President Zuma refers to, which is that judges in the courts have sealed the CR17 documents or papers. This is all in an effort to protect Cyril Ramaphosa. How is the presidency responding to this accusation? It's a long-standing one at that.
It's simple, Tolly. You have the president who goes to a court of law to say the manner in which documents were acquired was illegal. And instead of fighting everybody all over, he goes to the courts of law, because our foundation, we're a country with the rule of law. He goes to the courts of law, he makes his case gets accepted in some instances does not get accepted. Now, once the courts have actually decided, why should we be the one who should generate suspicions and so on? So in my view, President Cyril Ramaphosa has gone to the courts, through the courts, and to put his case across. And he has been favored by the judgments. In some instances, they were not in his favor. And I think it is fair to actually have a portion that says, where we are happy, unhappy, as long as the courts of law have mediated an area of discontent, we must live by it.
The issue here, Mr. Besani, is that the longer this issue stays in the public domain, and clearly the attempts by the former president to have it stay in the public domain is, as Prince Mashele says, is an attempt to try and plunge the ANC into a crisis. The question here is whether President Cyril Ramaphosa shouldn't just go ahead and open up these books. If there is nothing to hide, surely journalists and the public at large, they will find that the president has nothing to hide, and that where he drew monies for his campaign were from donations. And I'm not sure what the fear is. What is the fear, in fact, around disclosing who donated towards his campaign?
I've always argued this point, number one, that it is important that we become more transparent. There's nothing wrong with that requirement. We've always argued accordingly. But remember, any president, former president, and so these are people who have taken an oath to the Constitution. They've taken an oath to abide, to protect the Constitution of the country. Now, in an instance where information is acquired illegally, and you don't challenge that as the president, you are setting a wrong precedent where people would actually, who have accesses to these resources, in some instances, the state agencies would acquire information about others. And then if they are not challenged, such a precedent can ravage actually the country. It will introduce a culture of lawlessness. And I want to insist that it is important for people to underscore why President Ramaphosa took the matter to court. It is not about challenging transparency. It's to ensure that whoever, because we have laws that enable people to access, information as they requested. But we cannot have a situation where people go out of the laws of the country to access information about others. And that is the premise, part of the premise upon which the challenge to how this information was acquired. So, and that has been proven through and through. So the ANC, therefore, even its president, have got to be at the forefront of protecting the Constitution and have got to set a good example on how information, if you want information to come into the public, how it should be acquired. Because these laws are laws that have been developed to not only to protect the elite, but to protect everybody. So I think the issue of President Ramaphosa going to court to seek recourse on how this information was acquired is very, very important.
Yeah. Final question to you, Mr. Besani. The Deputy Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, around this issue of the former president deciding to defy not just his commission, but the Constitutional Court. He says that if this is left unchallenged, anybody in South Africa will simply say, I'm actually going to do exactly the same thing that has been done by the former president, and that is to disrespect the courts. What should happen from here on regarding the behavior of a person who was a head of state in the recent past?
Look, as a matter of principle, once the Zondo Commission feels like Deputy Chief Justice has said yesterday, he feels that the Constitutional Court, the Commission has been undermined, and even the Constitutional Court based on its decision. I think it is upon them to take action because the institution, the Commission is the one that has been undermined. We believe that the law has got to take its course. For instance, if we say, no, this is what should happen and so on, again, this presidency will be accused of trying to influence the judges and so on. For me, and for us all in the ANC, we have said we support the Zondo Commission. It has been established through the initiatives of the conference resolution and so on to find how deep has corruption gone. In fact, the NEC has taken a decision and supported the fact that the ANC has also had to go to the Zondo Commission. So the law has got to take its course. It's upon those who feel aggrieved about the conduct of former president to ensure that they take legal steps against him. So it cannot be the president of the ANC who says, or of the country, who says, this is what must happen with the former president. Lest we get accused, we confirm the wrong accusation that the president is behind all attacks on former president. So currently, the Zondo Commission knows what to do. We have the strong foundations. We have a strong constitution. We have strong laws. There is recourse in our laws on how to deal with what is believed to be illegal or what is believed to be something unconstitutional. So let's allow the courts of law to preside, to mediate over the matter. So it cannot be expected that the president of the ANC and of the country should be the one who actually issues a judgment on that. We have made a confirmation, an assertion that we support the Zondo Commission. We support the constitution of this country. And that is enough for us to assure our South Africans that the president of the ANC, is not influencing the courts of law. The ANC has made a political statement in that regard.
All right, Mr. Besani, as I let you go, you make very interesting remarks. And yes, I was tempted to draw this to a close, but it's quite interesting what you're saying, that the ANC president and that of the nation, who is one person, should see to it that he stays above the fray. But I wonder how you then deal with that when there are calls within the ANC to say, ANC top six, please go and talk to former President Jacob Zuma in order to try and convince him. Isn't that involvement on the part of the president at least, never mind the fellow top six leaders?
No, there's nothing wrong for the organization to talk to its members, to say to its members, this is what we think you should do and so on. In the ANC, we always get guidance, we always get counsel. There's nothing wrong with that. The ANC is not going to the courts of law and say, this is how you resolve the matter. Former President Zuma is an esteemed member of the African National Congress, and he holds strong views on a particular matters. And currently, those matters are matters that impact on the constitution of the country. So there's no way that the top six of the ANC can just leave that unattended. It's important for the ANC, from a political level, not to influence judges, not to even disregard the rights of President Zuma, to really intimate with him on his posture, on his views, and so on.
So when is the meeting happening?
No, the officials have not given us a date in that regard. We don't know. But the point here is, if a member of the ANC has a strong view on certain matters that we believe they may impact in a particular way on the country, it is political responsibility for the leadership to come into contact with that person.
Sibongile Besani, thank you very much for your time. He sits in the President's office at Luthuli House.